out of the house right now.
Okay.
Push out outside.
I'll volunteer whatever you want.
Got her again. She's on her again.
Got her again?
Yeah, from the back. She's trying to run.
Christy Bird was born in Decatur, Alabama on May 2, 1974 to her single mother Rebecca Marie Bird. She later married Jason Sheats, who hails from Trinity, Alabama, a mere 15 minutes away from Christy's hometown. Together, they had two daughters, Madison Tyler Sheats, born on October 21, 1998, and Taylor Ashton Sheats, born on April 19, 1994. The family relocated to Houston, where the girls spent their formative years. Christy had a deep affection for her children, relished her role as a wife, and cherished her life in general. Both Taylor and Madison enjoyed a wonderful childhood, nurtured by their loving parents. Christy frequently engaged with social media, sharing numerous photos of her daughters and their achievements, offering glimpses into their lives. Her online presence served as sort of a public diary, as is often the case with social media. Through her Facebook posts, we learned that Taylor aspired to be an artist, which was her dream, while simultaneously working as a full-time teacher at a daycare. Madison had a part-time babysitting job that she adored and was earnestly committed to her academic pursuits. The family was leading a content life until a series of heartbreaking events unfolded in early 2012. First, Christy's beloved grandfather passed away. She shared an exceptionally close bond with her grandfather, considering him one of the most cherished individuals in her life. He played a significant role in shaping her into the person she had become. His loss plunged Christy into a profound state of depression. As she grappled with grieving her grandfather while striving not to succumb to a persistent state of melancholy, another tragedy occurred. A few months later, Christy's mother, her closest confidant, also passed away. This loss further intensified her depression, leading to frequent mood swings, a loss of appetite, and even a desperate suicide attempt. She distanced herself from friends and family, and her situation grew so dire that she required stays in mental health facilities when no other remedy seemed to help. Throughout this ordeal, Jason valiantly fought to support her, preventing her from taking her own life, serving as her pillar of strength and maintaining his role as a caregiver for the family. However, Christy's condition didn't improve, and it became a regular occurrence in their household to request police assistance to ensure her safety. Records indicate that there were 14 calls made to the police, some of which were categorized as mental crises involving Christy. Medical professionals prescribed medication to address her anxiety and depression, but even this intervention appeared ineffective. Christy's behavior became uncharacteristically violent, a stark departure from her usual demeanor. Additionally, she turned to excessive alcohol consumption, which is generally discouraged and particularly ill-advised when taking medication, especially for mental health issues. By June 2016, after enduring 4 years marked by a distressing pattern of violence, emotional distancing, and ceaseless disagreements with no resolution in sight, the marriage had deteriorated, leaving both Jason and Christy yearning for a divorce. According to Christy, Jason seemed dismissive of her emotions, while Jason contended that he had made every effort to salvage the relationship, but Christy's determination to push him away had made it nearly impossible. While this was an emotionally trying period for both Christy and Jason, they faced an additional challenge with their daughter Taylor, who was on the verge of getting married at the end of the month. They had opted to withhold their decision from their daughters, allowing them to savor the upcoming wedding without the burden of their parents' impending separation. A few days later, Christy engaged in a heated argument with Taylor, resulting in her decision to ground her and prevent her from seeing her fiancé. Jason intervened, informing Christy that it wasn't feasible to ground a 22-year-old woman. This entire episode further inflamed Christy's emotions, a reaction that would be quite understandable for anyone in her shoes. Her frustration escalated when she realized that Jason failed to see her perspective and sided with Taylor. In the days following this confrontation, Christy and Jason revisited the topic of divorce. This conversation likely intensified Christy's anger. Subsequently, a few days later, Christy called for a family meeting scheduled for June 24. Family meetings were not uncommon in their household. On June 24, 2016, the family convened to discuss the issues on Christy's mind. Jason suspected that the discussion would revolve around the impending divorce, and they might finally reveal their intentions to their daughters. Taylor, on the other hand, may have believed that the meeting pertained to the argument and her mother's unexpected resistance to her fiancé. Regardless, they all gathered for the meeting. When Christy entered the room and stood in front of her family, they immediately sensed that something was wrong. When you have experience with someone who has a history of mental illness, you become attuned to the warning signs. As they anxiously waited for Christy to speak, she unexpectedly produced a firearm and aimed it at Taylor, firing a shot. In that terrifying moment, Jason rushed to protect Taylor while urgently instructing Madison to leave the premises. He shielded Taylor from harm by positioning himself over her. Rather than leaving, Madison took the initiative to call 911. During the call, you could hear Jason pleading with Christy not to harm the children. Meanwhile, Madison made an attempt to exit the house. However, her mother redirected her attention and fired a shot into her back. Madison managed to make it to the front door, but collapsed on the threshold, where she tragically lost her life. At this juncture, Taylor and her father had fled the house and were standing in the middle of the street. Taylor, too, had dialed 911, and this part of the harrowing ordeal was captured on the emergency call. Christy fired another shot at Taylor, while Jason was imploring her to cease her actions before retreating back into the house. Jason believed that Christy was finished, but at the moment of the first gunshot, a neighbor had also dialed 911. The neighbor provided a shaky, frightened, and shocked account of the unfolding events. Jason swiftly lifted his daughter and sprinted down the street, but as they reached the street's end, Christy emerged from the house, armed with a gun. Surprisingly, she wasn't finished. She had simply run out of bullets and had returned inside to reload. She rushed toward Taylor and Jason, but at that moment the police were approaching on the road. Strangely, this didn't deter Christy, and she continued to advance in the direction of the rest of her family. While the officers watched, she fired another shot at Taylor. It's worth noting that they didn't just stand there passively, but it seemed that they were shocked by her audacity to commit such an act right in front of them. After shooting her daughter, Christy turned her attention to the police, who were now shouting at her to drop the weapon. Instead of complying, Christy wore a sinister smile and gazed at her husband. She began raising her gun, but one of the officers opened fire, hitting Christy and ultimately ending her life.
Gonna have 3 people down.
What did you do? But 1 clear, 3 people down.
EMTs were also present at the scene, and they promptly airlifted Taylor to Memorial Hermann Hospital in an attempt to save her life. At that point, Taylor had sustained 3 gunshot wounds in various parts of her body. Unfortunately, a short while after her arrival at the hospital, Taylor succumbed to her injuries. Meanwhile, Jason, though taken to the hospital, did not require medical attention for physical injuries, but he was admitted due to the severe emotional distress he was experiencing. Due to her belief that he had disregarded her grief and sorrow following the loss of her dear ones, she wished for him to experience the profound emptiness of being without those he cherished the most. Jason firmly believes that Christy had no plans to harm him. Instead, her sole objective was to terminate the lives of their children, aiming to inflict anguish upon him. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.